This is a body lean position. Like, I don't think this is perfect. You guys see the lower half, how the leg is going out in the tip fib? In a perfect world, a little more bend here and get linear, okay? Linear is key. I call this a hard left hip when they look like this. You know, I'm kind of square up top, but then I'm at my lean point down low. Draw parallels to golf, right? If I'm golfing and I swing on one plane, and then all of a sudden I come off that plane and get linear. That's bad, right? So we are essentially golf swing, replace the club with a foot. I'm going to play this real quick. Just go ahead and watch everything nice and slow. That's pretty exceptional rep, other than the fact that he didn't start as well as he could. Let me try and delay this where you're going to see problems. Because when things are done well, they ought to. That is on a plane. That's exceptional. What you're going to see is, I'll stop it here. You're going to see your kick from the front side. The shin, the tibia fibia will be exposed like so. And obviously that is a loss of a lot of power. A lot of power. So you're tricking their bodies in the absence of momentum, getting into that kicking position. So yeah, I used the base of an upright. I showed you an example of this because we're not always at a football field, are we? We might have an away game where they threw us on a soccer field and you want your kicker to get some low impact drill work in. Nothing better than this. All right, kick side. I like the byline. Later I'll show you a really good NFL example where it really shouldn't pass. Right there is the height of your backswing. Because watch what happens to the body when you increase, when you get way too, you exaggerate the backswing. Watch what he does. He gets front loaded. See the knee? It has to happen. And what happens is we get blocked. But thankfully this kid keeps a nice natural height about it. And he actually kind of gets back on the heel because he knows better. He's very well trained. And then the finish is excellent. So you should finish here and it should be parallel before the backside. Okay? Action, reaction. All right, tendency. This is a much lower level. This is an Army West Point kid that's going there next year. High schoolers just started doing this drill. I want to show you the difference. Sorry, I didn't play. Look at the minimal backswing here. See the difference? You will see that. But again, look what happens. He overcompensated a minimal backswing with like a dramatic front side. Right? Like watch how he lifts this. This is not really necessary. Ball's banging on it since here. So he's trying to lift it and trying to show me his follow through. But what I would say, and these are just examples of good and bad, I would say just think parallel forward, but here's another bad example. Look at the knee. Look how he gives it up already for 2 planes. Okay? He's clearly front loaded. The height of this ball is not going to be helped by you lifting it up like a ballerina here. You see that? These are very, very common tendencies. If you guys can remember some of these tendencies, I promise you, they're recurring. Everyone shares them. Let me talk about words, which I know we all hate to read, but I wrote these for some important reasons. Talked about low backswing. Plant depth and width is absolutely important here. I'm a firm believer in the absence of momentum. Let the kid have what they call a shallow plant. You know, let him get back a little bit. Like, he should not be fully invested. Like, I'm going to speak kicker language to you. We call it, like, arch to heel. Like, he should not be that deep in the process. He shouldn't be. That's when you have momentum. That's when you are going somewhere. On this drill, we try to play on the front side. Okay? Because if they do not do that, they're going to throw their glute out and try to get the height. I want to stay natural, right? Natural. Keep your height. That's really important. A high heel is what it is. We want to strike again like a golf ball. Put that first metatarsal on there. I think we want to, I don't know if you can see very well, but a high heel would be this. It would be like a punter. You're going to see guys that punt and kick, and they think that I must do the same thing. Punting is a linear motion, right? We're going to move in a straight line and get up and out. Kicking, like I said, we're going back 3 over 2, and we're going to lean a lot. So this must be like a golf club, like a sandwich. You're going to open it up. High heel is going to be a very, very big problem for everyone at first until you show them. Drop the kick side heel, let it come up and off the foot. Again, back to trajectory. You must get over the line of scrimmage. A lot of you guys are going to have soccer players, yeah? I'm sure I would say 9 out of 10 of you guys are going to go off the soccer field, and I think that's very important, and I think that's the best thing to do. And I think that soccer players most definitely taught their whole life to have a high heel strike on the laces. Okay, so I'll just draw another sport here. They're going to shoot the ball, and in soccer, what we taught to do is down, keep it under the ball. Third, it gives you a visual, and you're thinking bone on seam or bone on black. In this case, it could be silver. That's the aim small, miss small mindset, right? And they can see that usually at the one step, because by the time my holder gets it places, he's about the one step or drive step away. He's going to see target. He's going to see seam, and more importantly, bottom third. So again, toey balls will be hit low, always. Okay, and where we're talking about will be more bottom third. And this plays a lot nicer in the weather than that. That prop can shift balls. My guys that are really advanced in the high school level, they know that they hit a pure ball, 5-10 mile per hour wind probably won't deviate much, especially for you. Whereas if I hit a toey and it's rotating like a propeller, you're going to have some action. Follow through, we talked about with this kid, and we saw Matt's crunching. I talked about that a little bit, but that's a term I like to use because it closes the door in this setting, right? So it's just a door hinge would never be off its hinge, right? And even if you are on the hinge, most guys that are getting out of that and doing this well still want to bring the torso down because they feel that if I get down, I can get out. Okay, that's a big misconception, especially in kickoffs later, is action reaction. Whatever I do on this step, I'm going to react to have to this way. So we try to say move linear. Because if we can move in straight lines, we can be repeatable, we can adjust distance points, we can adjust the plan width. If you move in a parabola, it's impossible to repeat the parabola. You know, and kids will do that. They move a snake pattern. We'll elaborate on that later. All right. Again, he's a little front loader right there. I love it. And what I really do not like is you see ground right there prior. Ground prior to ball is no good. We want to see pretty pure ball hit. His big fault is, see, you like it here, right? If you're with me, you should start coming back down now. What does he do? He pulls ever so slightly out. Right. You guys seeing that? And then that's the choppiness. Right here, it's not optimal. He's not, do you think he can hit this ball 20, 30 yards? No. So, again, and it's a good angle for it. If he's attacking like a golf player, you guys have ever golfed well, in one stroke, he should have come back on the same plane. That's what he did. But what did he do at the height? He deviated. Okay? It's very, very simple if you look at it like from some of your comments. And these guys are advanced. So 5'9", kid can bang. Kid can absolutely bang the ball. So I don't care how small your kid is, if they're utilizing their body efficiently, you know, they're going to be a 50-yard range kid. I don't care if they're 5'6". Very obvious. I'm going to skip that one and go right into prepares kickers for a back snap hold situation. We talked about that too. I really would like to elaborate. For those of you that follow me, I would like to give you some feedback as to, say you have a chiropractor on your high school team. I see this sometimes. Riley Stevens over Dr. Phillips is a good example. He did not have a great operation. It hurt him this year. UCF took him, but only because of his performance in outside events, not in games. And what I'm trying to say is you need to find someone who can be serviceable, especially at 7 yards. You know, you can find an athlete in your team. I'll go off on a tangent, but I think it's so important. If you do not have an LS long snapper right now, go in the spring or before the spring actually. If they're having any kind of team function with football, let these kids throw the football around. Okay? The natural throwers of football are your best long snappers, especially deep snap. Okay? Now, say you have 5 or 10 guys that are exceptional throwers. Do that recovering on every rep. You know, taking imperfect steps. So I know that 90 seems like fundamental, but so that's a good cue. Wow, we talked about a lot of this. Let's go back to. Okay. I mentioned plant line. Now you see it. This one is not a big, I don't think. But how I find this is, ball's here, you can barely see it, but he went back 3 over 2, and this kid's very good too. Texas State kicker. He One thing I'm fixing on him, and I wanted to show you what's wrong with this, is he has a tendency to open up like downfield, almost like if we're on the left hash, like he's going downfield, right back home. I want him to just position that half the plant, as we call it. So that's a good angle for half the plant. I'm going to talk about on one consistent steps. I got to laugh at Atlanta about this. How many of your kickers look like this when they take the step back? Here's the spot. No one's kickers does that? Not one. Right. So I always make my guys that are younger. First of all, I said if you walk up to a girl and ask her to prom like this, good luck, right? Like, have some swag about you. So I like to utilize my arms to be natural. So for a while, I'm taking more space. Some kids have to really get the thought of, make them walk 25 yards and use their arms. What's cool is we're perfectly created. So those are equidistant. I mean, almost to the millimeter. If I'm really being myself, my natural self. So what my pros do especially is, it's where they start off the spot. I know this is kind of getting detailed, but wherever they place their plant foot prior to walking back, and that holder's there in a game, like there's his finger, you know, he's walking back, my pros will position their foot deeper than, or wherever it needs to be conducive to being where they want to be. Whereas I think young guys try to manipulate the situation, and they put their feet like anywhere around the spot, and they just walk back. It's very, very, very important that these kids, on the times, the hours and hours that they have without you, that it's trial and error. Like, I'm not going to tell you that, oh yeah, a 6-foot kid is 81 inches, that's his distance point on 3-2. I think that's ridiculous. I'm sure that there's a general rule for all that, but I really think it's vital for you guys to stress, if they don't look comfortable, where is that discomfort coming from? And yes, it might take filming them with a cell phone. I think it's important. You know, as much as you guys value the film on inside and all that stuff during practice, if they don't see themselves doing something, they might assume they look different. You know, you've got to expose them. And sometimes it's going to be really ugly, but I guarantee you, they'll make adjustments because they don't want to look like it. So I think a really critical thing, back to what I was saying, is like it should kind of look like 1, 2, 3, right? And if they want to go a little deeper, you know, just start a little deeper in the process off the spot. Okay, very important. Most kids want to be as far as possible away, and I don't think that that's good. Toe ball target. That's huge. I think I drew it on this cleat. I took it off. But what I'm saying is when you walk back through, sometimes, you know, we're humans, we walk off our target line. Make certain that they redirect back on the line. You can see it in games sometimes, the guys that are good, they'll just take a second and then make sure they get that good 90. That's huge too. I think these kids don't realize it. You know, like I was told a long time ago by a guy that coached me that you only play like 4 plays a game. You know, you got 24 seconds out there. Use them. What are you in a rush for? This is your time. You know, so I think some of these kids, they take, I just want to get out there and do it real quick, you know, and they rush themselves. That's a negative thing to do. You might want to come see this later. I don't want to forget. We're going to talk about this again on kickoffs, but I went ahead this morning and I got bored. I want to show you guys where the weight displacement should be on the lean drill and on the field goal and on the one step. You know, this is a left foot. Left foot was the plant foot for a righty. Most guys are righty. I apologize if you have a lefty, but you can figure that out pretty quick. But notice we're not front loaded. Right? I don't know if can you guys see it back there? Yeah, we're not front loaded, and we're on the outside. Okay, and notice what some of these guys did earlier is they were on both. That's the punting philosophy, right? Punting, think about it, when we plan on punting, or in most things in football, we're going to be on both. But when we're coming off of a 3-2 angle, we're going to be on one. And I think that's huge. That enables them to actually get that linear plant side we talked about earlier. So that's huge, and if you want to see how I mark this later for a little sweet spot, I think this is very cool. If you guys have like 2 or 3 K balls that guys can use, they would like that. They really would. Side steps. I know it seems crazy, but talking about distance point again, if they're going to master being natural in the walkbacks, But then what I'm noticing too is, I'll be a righty, so I walk back, I went, good, I'm good. How many of you guys do this? As big as they can go. As big as they can go. That increases that distance point as well. I think that 3 natural steps back, generally speaking, and then 2 outside hips over, right, generally speaking, is the optimal distance point for all of us. And then we let the way we're designed go from there. You know, I have a 6'3" guy that's a little bit outside of me, you know, but not much. We reference that too. If you have 2 kickers that are different sizes and one is doing phenomenally well with distance points and steps, reference him and say, well, where's your hip bone? You know, where's the length of your stride? Well, if his is here and the guy that's doing terrible is here, I bet you the short guy is almost with his technique. You've got to be inside of him. Now again, this is trial and error, but I promise, it's just like everything else, right? It's just trying things. It's just thinking things from a different perspective. Approach to the ball. This is a pretty poor example of it, but his kick side shoulder, which is, you know, right foot kicker, that is going to the ball. We talked about that a slide or 2 ago. Most young guys are going to have their center line going way out that way. Because again, it brings the thought of, ooh, I get more torque, I get more power, I'm going to smash this. But we have to make it too. Okay, so kick side shoulder, KS shoulder is the ball, and the center line. The center line is going to the plane. That is crucial. I just say that's one of the most important things in the slide. That's going to help a lot of things, right? A lot of things. Drive step, leg swing. Open drive step. This is going to be hard to explain, but we basically, okay, I got it. Most guys are going to take that kick foot. What's this? The kick foot will go closed out to the plane. And I want it to stay open. That's what that means. Open drive step. You looked at Cairo's film earlier. He wasn't toe closed. And actually, the next stage, I'll show you this next slide. We'll come back to it. What open drive step means is don't close yourself out. If they're a right-footed kicker, I don't want their right toe going to the plant spot, okay? I want it going outside shade of the ball because that is the swing plane we're on. You know, we're opened up, open foot, opened up. We've talked about this at length. Parallel to the floor, close the door, that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you one more time. The second we get past parallel, we must find balance somewhere else. And I'd said right away, I want to be natural the entire time, correct? So tell your kids parallel to the floor, parallel. It could be a little past parallel. But the second I get perpendicular, I get front loaded, I get heavy at the head, nothing good is going to happen up and out. Okay? So, very, very important, parallel to the floor. Deliberate follow through. I think easier term would be match it. So, like, whatever happens on the backside, I like having the front. So, if you noticed earlier, Matt Wright, he finished a little high on the backside, but he did a phenomenal job of just kind of getting parallel in front. Right? There's no need to get up higher than that. There really isn't. The ball's been gone. You know, at impact to here really is about as much as you need to do, but I think you should match it. Just because if you restrict that energy, that's where you get like the adductor issue, the hip flexor issue. So parallel, you know, just very, very simply put, backswing, force. We talked at length about plant spot and weight distribution. Again, I think it'd be huge if you guys could come take a picture of this later, but essentially it's just, don't be standing flat. Stand where you came from, right? That's how you get your lean, that's really how you kick. Front side quarter angle of a full step. This is AJ Reed from Duke, he just graduated. I'm going to pause it at his drive step. There it is. It's pretty good, not terrible. Notice I said like this is an open, right? That's open. Your kids, 1,000% are going to be closed off at your drive step to the plane. I promise you. And then what happens is, I don't know why, it's just physics behind it. What happens when they close this is they spring into the plane. And when you leave the ground and you just crash, I call it, you have no room for after the fact, right? Like follow through, finish, whatever you want to call Sometimes we need that extra 3 or 4 yards of momentum of our body, the mass behind us. So this is phenomenal, okay? Phenomenal. We said right shoulder's ball. Phenomenal. The D and Duke, your center line, is going to plane. That is about as good as it gets. The only thing I would say is he could be a little flatter here. You can see the heels leaving, which invites us to crash a little bit. So kind of come off that flatter. That's super advanced stuff. If you watch Kyra on him, I think that's why Kyra's a pro and this kid isn't yet. Is Kyra gets back to the floor, so it enables for an excellent finish. But I don't know if there's a better picture. And notice too, when you reference eyes on seam, and I guarantee that's what he's looking at right there. Where are his eyes? Probably bottom third. Right? And he's thinking small, aim small, miss small. First metatarsal, bone on seam, so I can get that great up and down rotation. You hear the seam kick right now. Wow. That's probably why I put this in here. Let's go back a little bit. Let's review. This is probably the best job I've seen of. Watch how it comes from the knee here, as opposed to outside of the knee. You guys see, is that on the swing plane? Anyone that golfs here knows what we've been talking about. That is excellent. Excellent. Now I would say the only thing he could really improve on here, if you want to get real picky, is the kick side hip is a little open to the knee. Over that wall where you guys are looking. He needs to close that a little sooner. You can tell it's a little push. And actually, look at his plant foot. Is that parallel to his target line, or is that a little closed out? You can tell. I mean, he's just a little bit opened up, but if I'm just getting real picky here, that's excellent, excellent rep. You've got a lot of momentum through. This is Caleb Sturgis, kick side. This kid, I call him the shark. I mean, he really does smash the ball. And he has a phenomenal example right here of a balance backside, front side. Watch again. As high as he goes in his backswing, he kind of follows it. And look, it's not going past parallel. Boom. To a parallel. That's beautiful. It's very, very well done. This is Boswell. This is an awkward human being as far as kicking goes. I don't know if you can tell, he's like 7,000 feet tall. He is an anomaly. Watch his backswing. He gets away with that perpendicular to the floor. Nice open drive set, nice level head. See how he goes way past it, he gets there on time. And he's long. I do not think that is a practical thing to do with a big, tall guy. But again, he's an outlier. He's an all-pro. I can't argue the way he does things, but not very many people can repeat that. I gotta move on. Here's a good drill. We want to talk about identifying holders. Go ahead and find 2. Hopefully you have 2 in mind. I love this. The best players on my team in high school are always my holder. I know you guys sometimes say, "Oh, I want to get my quarterback hurt," but he's not on. He's off limits. I don't know. I like quarterbacks. I like wide receivers. I like the guys that are my PR guys, the punt returners, the impactful guys that don't make very many mistakes, and they love the football in their hands. You just have to get them to buy into the fact that they're assisting on the highest scoring team. Your kicker should be your highest scorer unless you're doing something wrong, obviously. You've seen that at all levels. So it's most important that we can make certain that the operation is led not only by the kicker, because he has to be the receiver of it. He's got to rely on 2 people prior to him doing what he's been taught to do. So I think it's the utmost importance. Get your athletes to hold the ball and have them play this game right here. Call it a partner holding drill. I just kind of made it up one day, and I can show you the details later, like what you don't see. Like, I'm kicking this guy's butt, I know. I'm on the left. But see how quickly I get that seam to the target line? He's kind of there. See, he got it there eventually, but boom. I want seam on target line. Again, we're doing an inverse thing, so I would be servicing one side, he's servicing the other. But this is a good example of how we have it now. It should be up and down. Like, let's talk about that real quick. A lot of your holders are going to think, and kickers for that matter. If I'm kicking out this way, how many of you guys put the ball up so it's kind of back? Don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't invite that. It should be up and down and then slight. Because what we're doing is if you let an athlete see the bottom third of these black lines, it really, it looks like it's whatever there, but it's actually halfway up. So I want them to see the ball, okay? Believe it or not, up and down. It's easier. It's harder for a high school kid to get the ball tilted like that, but if you can see a vertical setting, and then the rule is this, write this down too. If you notice, the ball is never away from the holder. I'll play it one more time, so you know I'm not lying. This is so huge. The ball is never away. So that's up and down. That's to me a little bit. I like mine. I like his now. I probably told him that. There it is. Never away from the holder. If you put the ball like this for a right-footed kicker, he will miss badly. I don't care who he is. Badly. It should be here for righty, here for a lefty, away from the kicker. I can show you later how it matches the foot, but it's not my opinion. That's just a matter of fact. Right? Snap hold drill. Say you identified your 3 or 4 guys, right? Check it out. We'll shade the green spot. Test your holder too. But do a repeat drill with them. This is a backup of Bethune Cookman snapping after 1-day lesson. Super good athlete. He was not very good 2 hours prior, but he threw strikes. And the holder's a college holder, so I have high expectations of him. You want to aim small, miss small, like everything, right? Like, he's a little off, right? Where's the tendency for this holder, guys? Towards him too much, right? See how quickly you can fix that problem? You know what I'd probably do? Move the holder's body 2 or 3 inches closer to the ball. Because then we don't manipulate his mechanics. We change the environment, right? We're like, don't change them too much, especially when they're that good. If they're that close, try to see if you can trick that situation. And obviously, like, you've all heard it, but it's true. We're only as good as our operation. This will be a little quicker because it's basically piggybacking on field goals. Kickoffs are violent. This is Cairo when he was with the Chiefs. I just wanted to show you guys again parallel to his target line here. He's coming off of a parallel backswing. It's nice and open. He's pretty good. I don't love the fact that he's vertically set, but who knows what he's kicking. He might be a sky kick. It is the most violent thing we do. I wrote that down to remind myself. You should probably allow your guys, and I know it's going to sound weird, I would say 10 kickoffs a week. But I'm going to show you some drills they can do to compartmentalize this. If they're off season, they can do 20 in 1 week, but they better have a 10-week the next week. It is, I can't stress to you enough, like, we're not designed punters. God built us. We're God-given, whatever you want to say. We're designed by someone that made us run and jump and walk linear. Punters can do it all day, kind of like softball players. If I can draw a parallel, you know the difference between an underhanded pitcher and an overhanded pitcher, right? There is a point in which we all will fail, whether it's here or here, because we're not built. Same exact thing, okay? So I hear, and it's really unfortunate, I hear some people at the high school level especially think it's, oh, you're being soft. But you wouldn't ever hear that from a baseball coach. You would have 20 years ago. Oh, throw more. But we just got to catch up. I mean, it's just that really does not make sense. And I hope you guys respect that. We can get better, but don't hurdle. The hurdle is what we're going to talk about. That's the major difference between field goals and kickoffs is we're going to actually let these guys get up and out over a hurdle after the ball's contact. Whereas in field goals, it's more of a skip. But you're going to see guys jumping over like a yard and a half, because what they're doing is they're incorporating hips up and out, right? That's what we want. We want to cover the ball, especially if they can't hit the ball 70 yards yet. If you can teach them with this hurdle technique how to hit the ball with a 10 before saying hang. It's covered. We can get that done. It's better than a swig, in my opinion. Now, there's a place for a swig, but I wouldn't do it every time. This is a phenomenal process of a kid, a college kid. There's his plant line or his approach line. There's a 2-yard drive step we'll talk about. There's his plant box. There's the hurdle. It's a very good example. Believe that. That's a half step. So we can go on that later. If you guys want to remind me, we can talk after if you want. I can show you what a half step is. It's basically like a 5-yard dry run, I call it. Like it's not full, it's a half of a field goal, so it's less impactful, but it really focuses on the final third. I'm going to play it one more time. Notice how he's coming down his plant line, which is the same line as his field goal line. That's a 2-yard reference we talked about. There's his plant box. There's the hurdle. There's the incorporation of hips. These are some, so he's simulating his kickoff rep. If you want to get really picky here, and this is time constraints, but in my opinion, why I put 3, a 3-2 kicker we can talk about on field goals, we know where they came from. I want a narrower path ever so slightly than their field goal path. So if you've got a really good field goal kicker, make sure he knows that, hey man, whatever angle you're coming from on field goal, we want to come about 6 inches inside of that because we want a narrower plant. And this is kind of getting in depth, I know. I'm not going to answer these questions later, but I want a slightly tighter angle to the ball on kickoffs because it brings us close to the ball because we're going to get a lot more lean momentum. It gets us higher on the foot. It ensures it. Going back to this reference, you cannot get away with toeing contact, which is a wide plant on kickoffs. So that's why I'm a firm believer in a tighter angle approach. So it invites the ball to come off of where it should. If you hit a toey ball on kickoff, you're going to lose 10 yards. The ball will be 20. You're going to give the best player in your team 20 yards of space to attack. No good. We talked about everything except for 7. I find that those are very common. You've got a 10-6, 9-5, and 8-4 technique. Now, is that yards? It's not necessarily yards, it's steps. So, like, it's 10 back, 6 steps over, which is, I'm not going to get crazy here. Yeah, that's a 10-yard, 6 walking strides, like that. Natural walking strides. Those are very common for all of those, I would say. So if you got a new guy this year, I would say that 8 and 4 is more for a guy Kyler Santos size. If you're 5'9" guys, if you got a guy my size, this is me exactly. I'm 6 feet, and this really is where we're stretching it. You know, we got a Chris Boswell maybe here. You guys see in the NFL sometimes their toes at 10, but those guys are massive. And Harrison Butker's 5 inches taller than the Chiefs right now, and he is maybe 6 inches behind me where I start. So let's not get nuts. But that's a good general rule. If they're 20 and 10, you know they're wrong, right?
Hey, Coach, I got a question for you. So I got a kicker. He can kick the hell out of the ball. I mean, just get it. He's from Spain. He's a soccer player. On his approach for kickoff, I don't care what we do. He does the steps. He takes about 3 in. And he's got a little chatter step, and he strides it back out and kicks the ball. How do I get that chatter, that little stutter out of there? Because I can tell you, I mean, this past season, 9 out of 10 are in back to the end zone.
So look, I'm glad you said that. Plant box, which I need to use for your question. You see where his toe is right now, right before he kicks it? If you did the inverse of that and started his heel there, start where you finish where you start theory, and had him run away from his origin, or the ball, plant area. Have him run on that path and take natural progressive strides, walk. Have him do it 10 times, see where he sticks that plant, and then have him start from where he stuck that plant. Because what he's doing is he thinks he knows his distance point. However, his body is telling him otherwise, right? So I usually take the ball away and make them naturally prove to me that they're ready to go. When we have nice progressive strides that build off one another without, and I've seen it, and I'll show you an example of it. I think it's important you see it. We'll go over that in a second. That's a really good question. That's going to happen. What he's saying is there's inefficient strides in the process. Usually it's 8 to 9 steps usually, what this amounts to. The 10-6, whatever it is. And usually the middle strides are where there's kind of a hiccup, I call it, right? A glitch, to where they're increasing speed, but the length of their strides actually got smaller because they're anticipating where they have to plant. So they're probably not matched up to where they really should be. And that's when you take the ball away and make them think about body on. It's a great question. I'll show you the drill for it. Optimal, yeah, so I'm telling you how to find this, and basically all you do is you have them put their feet together, next to the tee, and then draw a box around it. That invites that tight plant. That invites that good ball contact, right? So I was saying you box out the perimeter of the kicker's feet. There's the example. It's going around his foot. But yeah, I don't think it's asking too much to have your kicker go get a 99-cent can of cream and use that as visual references. Might look a little weird at first, but it won't look weird. He gets a scholarship. The widest point is considered our plant spot. Obviously, like he doesn't want to be at. We don't want to see the white running inside. Which is what you're gonna see sometimes. And the second we get caught wide, if he was like a foot's width wider, his foot's width wider, he gets that toeing contact. And you'll hear it. It sounds like a slap, right? So we want to deep thump. Move on real quick. Aha. There's our 2-yard I mentioned. First slide we mentioned the 2-yard drive step. A guy my size, 6-footer, kind of like Matt, you want to be kind of around the 2. What's going to happen though is your young guys are going to jump from like 2.5 and crash. So I want to show you. It's a really, really cool angle. And it is 2. Like Chris Boswell toes at 2. Let's see what Matt ends up. That's toes at 2. And look, is he a little shallow? Anybody see that? This is actually probably why I put this in here. He's my height. A 6-foot guy should be at 2. When you're past 2, look where right there, where he's past 2. You should be inside of it. Watch how he's not quite in his box. Wait when the ball leaves. Right there. You see how the tips of toes should be with the edge of that box. They should be at it. Right? And there's about a gap of this much. And what happens when we're what we call shallow there, we're not at the edge of the box, we hit lower in the ball and get toed. Okay, so it's very, very important that you find or your kicker finds what's best for him. I'm going to tell you now, had Matt found a way to put his foot inside of 2 barely, he'd have gotten to his plant spot really well and been on time and probably had a higher contact.
Hey, Coach, I got a question. I'm just going to back up. You're launching the ball. How do you measure those?
Oh, yeah. I think I messed one up, actually. Good question. But I usually take like a thumb in, and then once I get like that thumb, I round off and I try to get bottom third. See, I think this one is what I would like to teach off of. I think I tried to rush this before we started, but I can show it to you. I like the straighter one. This is one's kind of not straight, but that's a good question. I should probably take a picture of that and add this in there. So I mentioned this too. I think this is the best angle to coach your kids from. I think there's only 2 that matter. I think it's this one and the path to the plane. You're going to see a snake later. But here you can see what he was talking about. You can see, are his strides effective? Where is he stuttering? At what step is he stuttering? Was it the 5 mark he stuttered? Was it the 6th step? Is he at his 2? Is he in his plant box? How is he finishing? All of these can be covered on one angle, and that's very rare in what I do. I did say to focus here on how arms affect the feet. Again, I think that's another thing with your guy, is if you watch his utilization of arms, oftentimes we walk comfortably, but the second we don't, or you'll see this too, they'll pump one and leave one not. Again, we're not designed to do that. So make sure that utilization, I have noticed that the higher level guys are taught to use their body. I don't know if their strength coach is helping them more than the high school, but I think obviously arms dictate length and stride, right? We covered all that. Just going. This is cool. Almost done, I promise, but this is pretty neat. Again, this is like, probably never going to use this, maybe you will, but this is how I separate the really good kids from the best. And these can change, obviously, with your head coach, or if you are the head coach in here, if your scheme doesn't really align to this, but obviously we can look at what's going on. And obviously, this is for some ballers. Like, I wouldn't have my high school kids be charged off this. this. I would bring this down incrementally. You know, I would probably have this be the play. You know, because this is to the 10, this is to the 5, that's bowl line. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is some elite kids, but it's a pretty good way to have the kids chart themselves too, because they can track, you know, if they get and again, this can be adjusted, but a 50-yard ball to a 54 was 1, you know, 60 is 3 points. But you also reward the kids in the hang. So if they can play a game, if you got 3 dudes that are specialists, that when you're busy, you can't tell me they can't go chart themselves and compete. I've got really good field goal ones too. I've got a ton of stuff like this if you want some ways to have the kids self-evaluate or you can do it. It's neat. But I can even probably, yeah, like you can plug it in and it totals it for them. But that, it's good. You know, I wouldn't do that too much. Because you have to, you know, give them a diagnostic, you know, day 1 and then reward them. You know, like if they put a good week of work in drill-wise or every other week, see if in fact they got better somewhere and worse somewhere else. And then that's where I would intervene. You know, you could email me like, yo, he's stagnant in one area, but he's really come a long way in another. And oftentimes what I try to do is find what they're doing well in kickoffs and how they can tie it in the field goals, or vice versa. Because those two are very, very similar, and one's just more aggressive. This is the last slide. It is ways to get a hold of me. I'm good on all of them. I did a poor job picking yellow at the bottom, but that is my Twitter. It's the same as my Instagram, 4th Down U. That's my cell. It's my personal cell phone. That is my website, and then I'm on Gmail. I see a lot of Florida people in the room before you guys run. I do a free camp with Ricardo Allen. He was one of my players at Mainland for years. It is next Saturday. We're sponsored by Adidas, and every kid gets a shirt. Bill will be there. We have several sponsors next week. And we give the kids, there's 30 of these we give away to the kids. So we'll be there. It's in Daytona Beach, Florida, Father Lopez. My website, the homepage, you scroll down like to the second thing. There's a free registration. And the last thing I'll say is I got coaches in the room too. If you want to be a part of our staff, this is a free deal. It's grades 6 through 12. It's something. If you've never met Ricardo, he's one of the most genuine and good people I've ever met in my life. He made it a point that we're always going to keep this free, but we do want to surround ourselves with good coaches too. So if you guys are in Daytona next week or close to Daytona, you want to be a part of this, I think the best thing to do would be to email me so I can give you there's a private staff username and password because we're going to give you guys different shirts. But I'd love for anyone to be a part of this. We had 600 kids last year. It was really good. We had about 100 coaches last year too. So you know how it is, man. When something's free, you never can tell. So I imagine this last week will gain a lot of traction. People kind of wait till the last second, but it's a pretty big deal. We operate on 2 fields, and we do offense, defense first. We do offense, defense. Like 9 minutes. We register at 9. We start at 9 and go until about noon. Anyway, yeah, I really appreciate you guys, and I'm going to be here for punting as well. Thanks. One of my favorite people in the world is Urban Meyer. I know you guys all know who he is, but I don't think you understand the amount of emphasis placed on his calendar week. The critical part of this slide, number 2, is I want you today to think, if you're a receivers coach, let me give you an example. If you're a receivers coach, you know that stance and start is everything. If they're linear, you know, and they're engaged and they're ready to go and their base isn't too wide, they're playing their natural height, those are all positive things, right? So I want you to take your position today and see how many parallels you can draw with what it is you're already a specialist in. I will share with you, obviously, some adjustments that can be made to the drill work. And last, this is what's most important, I think, to most of you guys, is I write scripts for colleges based off of what they want. You know, I want my punter to have X, Y, and Z. We're on the field Tuesdays for an hour and 45. So I'm going to show you guys a little snapshot of that later. At the end of this presentation, I have every way possible to reach me, and we can interact there and share stuff. Field goals. No step, one step, full step. I'll just be real brief on this. This is 3 phases to a field goal kicker. This is 3 areas of practice that he can break down. Like a no step, if you look at the bottom, is the least stress in the leg. It's literally a fixed position. I'm about to show you 1,000 angles of this, but it is a low impact. Focus on your leg swing. Focus on keeping a natural height. Focus on stabilization of core. Focus on not being front loaded. All these things we're about to review. But in my opinion, the no step is vital. It's essential to A, keeping a kid healthy for 12, 16-week season, and B, it'll help the bottom line. You know, it'll help them stay in control when there's actually momentum involved. One step. Number 2 is, has anyone ever seen, kind of look at me for a second, snap came, oh, snap was muffed. Get it up, get it up, get it up. They can do that, right? My guys hit about an 80% ball off their drive step, which is also called their one step. Most of you guys have a 3-2 kicker, right? A one step will show you, they call it in case stuff happens drill, right? They can have confidence. The college guys, I'm noticing, are about 45 and in, very consistent and accurate in case something happens. However, if they need that 55, usually you need a 3-2. At the high school levels, I think the one step's vital too, because we don't have the greatest of operations. We don't have the greatest holder. And sometimes we're going to have to kick off one step. Full step is, it is what it is. You guys